In this demo, we will see how to consume a SOAP web service from an ADF mobile application. I'm going to make use of JDeveloper 11.123, and the web service that I'm going to make use of is this one, which I created earlier. Click on the link below to see how to create this web service. I'll copy this web service location, and in my JDeveloper I'll create a new mobile application. I'll name this mobile application as consume web service, and I hit finish. The first thing that we have to do in our application is, in the application controller project, we are going to create a web service data control. So I'll invoke the web service data control and create a new web service data control. Call it as countries DC. Copy the location of the WSDL. This retrieves all the methods that are exposed by the web service, and we'll hit finish. This creates a data control for us, which can be seen here in the DC palette. The next thing that we are going to do is we are going to add a feature in our ADF mobile application. Call it as countries, and in the contents tab for this feature we will try to make use of a task flow. We'll keep it as default. Let us drag and drop a view here, and this view I expect to show the list of all the countries. Let's double click it to make the mobile application page. This brings the AMX file editor. We'll divide this editor into two parts, one showing the source, the other showing the preview of the source. Using the countries DC and the get countries method, we'll drag and drop the return, which is nothing but a list of countries, into our page. We'll drop it as a list view, and we'll select the defaults. Instead of showing the country ID, I would like to see the country name on the display. This is how your page will look like. Let us try running only this part of the application on a real Android device. For this, we'll have to create a new deployment profile. We'll create a deployment profile called ADF Mobile for Android. Keep the defaults, and we'll try to make use of this deployment profile to deploy on the device that is connected to my system right now. So there you can see my application that I just now deployed, and now you see the feature that we created called countries with a list of countries information. These three countries are getting returned from the web service call. Now let us continue to build our application. The second thing that I want to do is I want to create an add countries form that will invoke the add feature from the web service, and that will add a new country information into my data store. I'll go to my task flow. I'll create another view called add country, and I would like to move from my main page to the add country page by invoking an add action. Let me try creating the add country page now. I'll name the first command button as back, so that I can go back to my list page. And in this page, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a form using the add country operation and the parameters that it takes. I'll drag and drop the parameters of the method into my page and create a form that takes the two values and input. And along with these two parameters, I'm going to drop the add country operation as a button. Just like the ADF application, the parameter value is already pre-filled here because we have already dropped the parameter onto our page. Just hit OK. The button gets added. Now what I expect after this button is invoked is that I want this new country information to get into my data store, and I would like to move back to my list view page. So for this button, the action, we will set it as back. This back action is created by default whenever you are playing around with task flows in an ADF mobile application. One thing that I would like to do in my all countries view is that I would like this web service that returns the list of countries to be invoked every time I visit this page. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to create a invoke action that will bind to the get countries action. I'll move this invoke web service executable on top. This will make sure that this executable gets invoked every time the page is visited. Next thing we are going to do is, from the main view page, we want to move to the add countries page. So we'll drag and drop a button in the main page and name it as add country. We'll set the action for this button as add, the action that we created in our task flow. Now let's see how this application looks like. We see the list of countries, with the add country button. When we click on the add country button, it takes us to the form. Let me enter the country as England here. So EN for the ID and England as the name. And we'll hit add country button here. This will take us back to the main page, and you can see that the England has been added in the list. Now let's try making use of the web service return as a list of values. So we go to our task flow. We'll create one more view called country as LOE. We'll create the control flow from the main page and we'll name it as show as LOE. Now we want to move from the main page to the LOE page, so we'll add a button in the main page that will take us to the LOE page. We'll name it as show as LOE and we'll set the action for it as show as LOE, the control flow that we created in our task flow. Now before we create this country as LOE page, we'll need a placeholder that will hold the value selected in the LOE. For this, we'll create a simple Java class. I'll just name it as class 1 and I'll add two attributes here. One would be my country ID and the second would be my country name. I'll just generate the accesses for these attributes, and to make it accessible in my view layer, I'll create a simple data control from the Java class. As you can see, the class 1 data control is now available to me. Now I'll try to create the country as LOE page. I'll double click on the view and create the AMX page. I'll name the button in the top left corner as back. That will take me back to my main page. Let me go to the preview mode. And now from class 1, we are going to drag and drop the country ID as LOE and LOE getting populated from the web service return. We'll drag and drop the country ID on the page as select one choice. This pops up a dialog for us to select what source of the LOE do we want. I'll select the country's DC return as the source for the LOE, and I can map different attributes from the Java class to the returned object from the web service. I'll also select the display attribute as country name so that in the LOE I see the country name instead of the country ID. For the back button, we will set the action as back. That will take us to the main page. Our application is now ready. Let us now run the application, see how it behaves. So you see the list of countries along with add country and show as LOE buttons. We'll click on the show as LOE. You can see that my country ID is showing the value from the web service return. When you click on the LOE, you see all the values that are returned by the web service. And when I select India, the value is updated. So this is how you can make use of web services in different way in an ADF mobile application.